I am Miss Community Clovia. Welcome to Community Conversations. And when I'm out in the community, folks are asking for this, that, fundraising. But most importantly, what am I going to do about child, parents, and visitation? So the other day, I saw Attorney Rhoades and I was like, look, you got to come on Community Conversations. We got to have a talk. So my special guest is Mrs. Shameka Rhoades, CEO and managing attorney of Trustice Law Group. And it's a law firm that is built on real law, real talk, real options. And today, we're going to talk about a series of topics. We're going to roll it all up into one show. Mistakes parents make. Yes, parents, we can make a mistake. I know you may be the most active parent, but you can make a mistake too. What judges are looking for? That's big, Attorney Rhoades. What you can't control. I know we controlling parents, most active parent. Hey, it sounds like I'm talking about myself, right? Attorney Rhoades. And what do you do when the other parent won't cooperate? Why does all of this matter? Understanding custody in Virginia. What people get wrong from the start, Attorney Rhoades.
Good morning, Clovia. Thank you for having me. And I will tell you, they get a lot of things wrong and not on purpose. It's
Yes.
because people go into custody and visitation emotional because your children are the most important things to you. Not things, but I mean, they are yours. And you want the best for them. And most parents think they are the best for their children. And so
Mhm.
they want to be active, especially an active parent, because you've been the one who's been there. You've been doing the doctor's appointments in school and all of those things. And now someone is stepping in going, no, no, yes, you've been active, but we also want the other parent to now be active. And it
Mhm.
makes people emotional. And I think that's the number one issue
Yeah.
is people allowing their emotions to get into the situation. And I say that from a professional perspective and a personal one, because I've been there. It's hard to keep your emotions out of it.
Mhm. But we have to find a way because it's that little attorney called Guardian ad litem, right? Okay.
Yes, the
We
guardian ad
have
litem.
to, yeah, it's a tough situation. And from I'm not the professional, you are, but I'm a testimony. And for all of those persons that are watching or listening on the radio, I know it's tough. And a lot of times when you're going through something, Attorney Rhoades, people think that they're the only ones that are
They
going
do.
through it or have been through it. So that's why it's important to do this show. Virginia has two types of custody, and most parents get it confused. Legal custody, who makes major decisions on your education, healthcare, religion, and where you're going to live, right?
Correct.
Physical custody, where the child lives day to day. So break it down the legal custody, I wouldn't say versus, but the physical custody too.
Well, so and they sort of go hand in hand, but legal
Yeah.
custody is who makes these decisions about your children. Who decides what school they're going to attend, whether they're going to go to private school or public school, who decides whether your children are going to get vaccinated or if they need a major surgery, who makes a decision as to whether that surgery is going to occur. In Virginia, you can either have joint legal custody, which means both parents have to make the decision. So if one parent says yes and the other says no, well, then it's a no. But if both parents say yes or both parents say no, then that's what it would be.
Mhm.
Now, legal custody could also be sole legal custody, which means one parent makes the final decisions and
Yeah.
they don't have to discuss it with the other parent, but that's the courts would prefer
Mhm.
they do that. But that one parent would make all the decisions. And then there's something called joint legal custody with final decision making authority, which essentially is both parents have the option to discuss decisions and make it, but there's one parent who, if they discuss it and they still don't agree, the one parent can say, okay, you know what, I'm going to make the final decision. And that person would then make the decision. And so the courts will, like with schools, I've seen lots of cases where um, someone will say, I want to put the child in a private school. Someone else will say, no, public school is fine. Well, the judge is going to say, I'm not going to decide what school your child goes to. What I'm going to
Mhm.
decide is who has legal custody. And then that person can make the decision as to which school the child attends. So
Mhm.
if parents aren't able to communicate and make decisions for their children together, then the court will decide which of them gets to make the decision.
Ooh.
And that can sometimes, and sometimes the courts will sort of split the baby. if you could say. They will say, okay, mom, you make medical decisions. Dad, you make educational decisions.
Ooh.
Because one of them may make better decisions regarding the child's education. If one parent is, say, an educator, they may say, okay, you know what? I want to be in charge of the child's education because I want to make sure they get a very good education. The other
Mhm.
one may be in the medical field and say, you know what? I should be the one making these decisions because I'm in that field and I understand it more. And so I've had cases where the court has split it up for each parent to make major decisions on one area.
Wow.
And then,
That's a tough one. It's like I'm going back, right? Virginia law gives no preference to either parent based on gender. The
no.
court orders regular contact with both parents when it is in the child's best interest. Talk more about that.
So whenever the court is trying to decide legal custody or physical custody, which essentially is where the child would live,
Mhm.
they don't base it on, oh, you're the mom, you automatically get it. Now I will never deny the fact that years and years ago, I think that used to be the thought
Mhm.
because it was more of a situation where mothers stayed home with the children, fathers went out and worked. Well, that's not the case these days. There are a lot of mothers who work. There are a lot of fathers who stay home. So the courts don't look at, oh, you're the mother, you automatically get the children, or
Mhm.
you're the father, so you get the father's visitation, which is every other weekend. That's not the case any longer. There have been lots of cases I've had where I've had fathers get full custody. The court looks at the best interest of the child, and there are 10 factors that it looks at. And you mentioned a guardian ad litem earlier. The court will hire a guardian ad litem, which essentially is an attorney that represents the child's best interest. Not necessarily what the child wants, because I've had cases where the guardian ad litem says, this is what I think should happen for the child. The child says, that's not what I want. I want something different. And so they tell the court what they think is in the child's best interest. And
Mhm.
that's, they don't look at, oh, it should be mom or it should be dad. They
Yeah.
look at what's in this child's best interest based on all of these factors that the court has to consider.
And it's based on what is in the best interest of the child. Now,
Yeah.
temporary orders, okay? Temporary orders issued while the case is pending do not determine final outcome. What does, Attorney Rhoades?
So the temporary orders a lot of times will just be if the case is going on or if there's some emergency thing that has happened
Mhm.
or the court wants to see if how a situation is going to play out, they will put a temporary order in. But the court will look at your child's age and their sort of mental and physical health. They'll look at each parent's age and their mental and physical health. They look at, depending on your child's age, they look at what the child wants. They will consider that. They look at whether each parent is facilitating a relationship. So if mom is withholding the child from dad, the court is going to look at that. Or if when the child is visiting dad, he never lets the child talk to mom, the court is going to look at that and consider it. And so
Mhm.
if a temporary order is put into place, the court wants to see how the parents are playing, like, are they playing well together? And if they're not, then that temporary order can be changed. If they are and everything is going well, the court may say, okay, you know what, we're going to leave this temporary order in place because it worked well for them. So it's just sort of a trial for the court to see how things are going to go under that order.
Wow. Dr. Rhoades, thank you. Well, Attorney Rhoades, thank you so much for being here because now we're going to move. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to get into that
All
topless
right.
experience making custody and visitation disputes. But we have to get to the common myths. If I move out, I lose my rights. True or false?
False. So a lot of times, if you're in a divorce and there's also custody involved, living in a toxic environment is not good for your children. And so if one parent has the option to move to a different location, that's not going to automatically say they lose rights to the kids. Now, what I will say to people is don't move hours away. If you're going to move out, try to stay in your kid's school district or try to move somewhere that's not far. If it's a 10-minute drive to their school or a 15-minute drive, move somewhere that's still within the area your children live because you can't move out and move the children away. And so that doesn't automatically stop anything. But if you are doing that, just make it accessible so the children can still see the other parent and see you and still be involved in their activities and being able to see their friends and going to the same school. So that would matter.
And even in the process of an impending divorce, with the year-long wait, does that play into that? Or do you have to get some type of agreement first? Or
So you
does it
don't
matter?
necessarily, every situation is different, and you don't necessarily
Yeah.
have to have the agreement. If the two of you have said, you know what, this isn't working, it's better for you to move out than have your children see you fighting and going through all kinds of issues. I think, there are stories in the news currently that show that parties being able to move out and
Yeah.
separate are better for the parties and the children than having them all still reside under the same roof in a very toxic environment
Hmm.
just to sort of wait out that 12-month period.
Okay.
So moving out isn't a terrible thing. Still being involved in your children's lives, and whether the children move with you, still having the children involved in their other parents' life is what the court is going to look at.
Hmm. And you touched on it a little bit minutes ago, but just in case folks are just watching us or listening to the radio, I want to revisit. You don't mind, Attorney
No,
Rhoades.
go for it.
The mother always get the kids.
No, mothers don't always get them. I have had cases where fathers get full custody of the children. The court looks at what is in the children's best interest, and if being with mother is not in their best interest, the court will not place them with mother. If being with father is not in their best interest, the court will not place them with father. So mothers don't always get them. Fathers don't always get every other weekend. It is based on after the court hears all of the evidence and considers the 10 factors that it has to consider, it will then decide what's in the children's best interest. And the guardian ad litems give a report to the court. And I know people think that what the guardian says goes. That's not always true either. The court will consider what the guardian ad litem has to say, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen.
Hmm. And the last myth before we, take a break and come on back and talk about more stuff. I don't need a lawyer because, we come together. We're good. We're going to decide on everything together. Is that enforceable?
So it's not, but this is what I tell people. It's good until it's not. Until someone else gets a new significant other, until someone doesn't agree, until someone is mad, until someone asks for money, then it's not good anymore. And then and so what I tell people, if you don't have an agreement, then anybody has custody. Nobody has custody, anybody has custody. So you can't say, oh, you can only get the child when I say. No, if you don't have any kind of order, one parent has no more right to the child than the other parent. So I always tell people, go to court with an attorney. I am an attorney. And when I went through the same situation, I had an attorney.
Yeah.
Because you're emotionally involved, where your attorney can take a step back and
Hmm.
give you advice that's not based in emotion. And
Hmm.
so going to court, even if you all are in agreement now, put that agreement on paper and have the judge sign it as an order. And if you're in agreement, then it's not a problem. It's only when you're not in agreement that order's then going to help you because you'll have a baseline to go back to.
Well, Attorney Rhoades of Trustice Law Group, this is a fire conversation visually and on the radio and streaming live. We're going to take a break and come on back. The top mistakes parents make in custody and visitation disputes. This is Community Conversations. Now, Dr. Rhoades, this right here is something special because us grown folks, we know everything, right? So let's start talking. We have Attorney Rhoades here with me from Trustice Law Group. And thank you again for being here. I can't thank you enough for the folks who are watching this and listening to us on the radio of what it is to seek professional consultation.
Well,
The
thank you for
top
having me.
mistakes, yeah, the top mistakes parents make in custody and visitation disputes. Let's start with mistake number one.
The first mistake, and oh my gosh, social media and texting.
Ooh,
Oh my goodness. If I have to read one more text where mom and dad are cussing each other out and calling each other names, it is just, and I try to explain to people when you send a text, and I know it's hard because the emotion gets in and you immediately go to texting. Take a moment. Like, don't type it out, but don't send it. Set your phone aside and just take a breath. Go back to it an hour later, clean it up some. But I tell people, think about having the judge read that in court out loud. That is not what you want. You do not want the judge to see you in that light. You don't want the judge to see you calling your child's other parent stupid or an idiot or anything like that, because that is half of your child. And you chose this person. So
Ooh. Now
no,
you're making them mad, attorney. We know how to pick them, don't it?
I'm not sorry. The other thing is social media. Everything does not need to go on social media. You do not need everybody's opinion on your custody and visitation case. They are not your attorney. You pay someone to give you advice. Listen to that person. Don't listen to all your internet friends who tell you, oh, a judge is always going to give you custody because you're a mom, no matter what's said, no matter what's done. Going on social media and posting anything about the other parent, posting about your children, posting about the hearings that are happening. None of that is good, because that will come back to the judge. We had a case recently where the opposing party sent a very nasty email to one of our attorneys that is going to come back in court. And it is not going to be pleasant when it comes out because of the things that were said. These things don't go away. Nothing on the internet goes away. And it's going to be evidence in court that is going to work against you. So just don't do it. Put down your phones.
And just start using your custody and visitation journal with Trustice Law Group, right?
Trustice Law Group will provide you with a custody and visitation journal, and we have a note section. So if you just want to go and write all the things you want to say that you know you should not say, write it there, because it's your journal. You can keep it. It stays with you. It doesn't go to the court. No one else sees it. It's a safer place to put those things than in text or in email or on social media. Don't put it in writing.
You said a whole mouthful right there. Mistake number 2, using the child as a messenger, spy, or weapon.
So that is not only bad in court, but it's bad for your children. And I always tell people this, when my kids would go to their fathers and they would come back, I would just go, how was your weekend? Yeah. They would go, good. Okay, great. Or my son would want to tell me all the things he did. And that sounds fun. That sounds great. But for the parents who go, well, who was there? And did they spend a night? And what time did they leave? And what time did they come? And what were you all doing? And where did you go?
Did she say, call her mama or call him daddy?
That you are traumatizing your child. And what happens when a guardian ad litem gets involved, they will ask the children, hey, do you get asked questions when you come back from mom's house? When you come back from dad's house? And that does not bode well in court, because your children are not spies for you. They are children. They are allowed to love mom. They are allowed to love dad. And it's okay. But when you make them feel like it's not okay, then they feel like they have to bottle it up. They feel like, oh, I have to tell this parent what they want to hear, and I have to tell this parent what they want to hear. And so just let them go and have a good time. And like I said, I'll ask my children, oh, how was the weekend? Good. Because they're teenagers and all I get is one word answers.
Yeah, good.
Okay, great. Glad.
Wow, let's keep it pushing.
But yeah, just don't use your kids to get information. Or I love when people come in and go, well, my 7-year-old told me that dad was out all night. Well, your 7-year-old goes to bed at 9:00. So maybe dad ran to the grocery store. She was asleep when he got back, but he was there the whole night. Like, we're not going to use the 7-year-old as a witness.
Well, I just don't know her, and I just don't want him or her around my child.
Well, you know what I tell people? Once you are no longer a couple, you don't really have the right to say that. You have to trust that the child's parent is going to be smart enough and protective enough about the child not to have bad people around them, but you can't control it. Now, there are exceptions to every rule. So if the person who is around your children as the child's other parent, significant other, is someone who's been convicted of, child molestation or things like that, those are issues you can bring to the court, and the court can put parameters in place. But if it's just, oh, the father got a new girlfriend and you're mad and upset, or mom got a new boyfriend and you're mad because she no longer wants to be with you, you can't now say, oh no, my child can't be around that other person. That's not your thing. That's not for you to say. If mom is providing a stable, safe environment, dad is providing a stable, safe environment with their significant other there, that's, you have to just kind of let it go and be okay with it. Now, I do suggest to parents, when you do start dating someone and it's going to be serious, that you introduce them to the other parent, because you all are now all around this child. And I think that's a very good co-parenting step to make, but you can't stop it.
Okay. You said it, Attorney Rhoades. All right. Social media, we touched on that. Just don't post. Okay. It
Just don't do it.
Social media can be a branding influence, or it can be an indictment. Okay. The judges see everything, right? And the attorney. All right. So we can go ahead on over to mistake number 4, denying the other parent their court-ordered parenting time.
That is a huge mistake because it can carry jail time. If you violate a court order, the court can bring you in court on a show cause and make you explain why you're ignoring their order, and it can carry jail time. And so I tell parents, if you don't like the order, there's a mechanism to go in and say, I want to amend this order. You don't get to just ignore it. You don't get to say, you know what? I don't like her new significant other, so I'm not sending my child for weekend visitation. That's not your thing to say. It's not your right to say, I'm not going to follow this court order. Once the court enters that order, it's law, and you follow it or you suffer the consequences. Lord. And I will tell you, some people will say, well, I'm not going to let them go because they didn't pay me child support this month.
Oh, Lord.
The court does not care. Child support is not tied to visitation in the sense that one affects the other. Oh, if you don't give me the child, if you don't give me support, you don't get the child. No, those things are completely separate. And withholding the child for that reason will cause the parent who's doing the withholding to be the one who's in trouble.
Oh, Lord, court ordered. Possible lockup potential.
And what I tell people, our court orders are not suggestions. They are the law.
The law. Real talk, real options with Trustice Law Group. Missing court. Number 5, missing court dates, deadlines, or ignoring legal papers.
So it amazes me when people say, oh, I got that paper and I didn't pay attention to it. If it comes with a court's name on it, you pay attention to it. If it is taped to your front door, you open it immediately. If your lawyer sends you something, open it and answer them. These things are not, again, suggestions. They are necessary things that need to be completed. And missing court, again, that carries jail time, because if you miss court, the judge can issue a failure to appear, which carries jail time. You cannot, if the subpoena is sent to your door, you have to appear. It's not we'd like you to come. It's you better be here at this date and this time, or we will send the sheriff back with their little bracelets that they give you that no one wants.
Okay, testimony. You're the expert. I'm the testimony. I received one of those notices on my door. It was taken down. And what happened, a neighbor was, you meet up at the mailbox. You got to have that older neighbor that's nosy in your neighborhood.
Everything.
She said, I don't know what happened, but you had a notice on your door. Can you check and see it? Because I think it was something from the court. Yeah.
And that happens. I will tell you, I would have been
in trouble. He wouldn't have been no claw on the radio. She would have been all locked up and stuff. Lord.
And then you had to go, well, no, Judge, I never got it. But the sheriff would have said, I posted it. So I don't know why she didn't get it. But that is another thing. And so what, I try to tell, Ring cameras now help a lot with that, because they catch everything. They would catch someone coming up, putting it on, and they would catch someone coming up, taking it off. So having a camera, especially if you're in a custody and visitation kind of battle, having a camera up helps. to make sure you're getting, if you are getting a summons or something taped to your door, and in the case that it might get taken down. So that is something that, I hadn't thought about that, Clovia. Thank you. I will
Yeah,
now
that
start
happened
telling
to
my
me.
clients that.
And yeah. So I said, well, and when that happened to me, attorney, I called to the court. And I was like, is there a possibility you have me on a docket? And they were like, yes. Guess when it was? The next day at 9 a.m. Oh, yeah. We
Oh,
got to talk offline about that. Ooh,
yeah.
Lord. But yeah, and so people, I'm glad we're having this conversation. And as you did say, folks have more ring cameras, but if you know there's going to be a notice coming when it comes to
Yeah.
child in custody, just call the court if you haven't received anything. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
trust you me. Last thing, and then we're going to take that break and come on back. Mistake number 6, letting anger drive decisions instead of strategy. Lord, I
And I
tried.
get it. So I'm going to start off saying, I understand. And people are like, oh, you don't understand. I understand. I have been there. I have had enough cases. I understand. You're mad. And sometimes you have every right to be, but you have to set that aside, which is why I tell people to hire an attorney, because you can be as angry as you want. Your attorney is that filter. They're like the AI of people. Your attorney is gonna say, you know what, you're gonna yell these mean things to me. I'm gonna make it come out and sound nice in court. You can't let anger control. Don't send angry texts. Don't make angry phone calls. Don't post angrily on social media. You cannot do these things because you can't take them back. You cannot unring a rung bell. If you say something in anger on the phone, the other party is probably recording, and they're going to replay that in court for you and the judge and the guardian ad litem. And that's not where you want to hear yourself yelling and screaming, because that's not you.
Yeah.
Going through these cases brings out sometimes the worst in people. And you want to make sure that you don't allow that. And the other thing is, the other person knows you. They know what buttons to push. They know how to set you off. And they're going to do it on purpose.
Ooh, ooh, Lord. We're going to take another break and come on back. We're going to talk about, and we have to wrap it up, what we can't control, right? But when the other parent don't want to cooperate, we still have to control what we can control. Right,
We do.
Attorney Rhoades? This is Community Conversations. I am Community Club. Attorney Rhoades with Trustice Law Group. For folks who are just watching us or listening on the radio, we've been talking about it all. But first things are first, in particular for the most active parent, right? We still have to follow the law. What can we do to start the process of controlling what we can control, Attorney Rhoades?
So, what I would tell people is write things down. Keep up with what you're doing. You cannot control the other parent, but what you can do is keep a log of what is happening. So if the other parent is supposed to pick the child up from school and they don't, just write it down. Don't get upset. Don't yell. Don't fuss. Just write it down. And when it comes time to go to court and that parent's like, Judge, I want to be involved. I'm doing all these things. Well, you pull out your little custody journal that you got from Trustice Law Group and you go, oh, well, on this day, you missed picking them up. On this day, there was a soccer game you didn't attend. On this day was a PTA meeting. On this day was a parent-teacher conference. You didn't attend any of those things. Oh, there was also a doctor's appointment you didn't go to. The judges would prefer to hear that in a calm manner than they would yelling and screaming and, oh, he doesn't do anything for the child and she's never around. Well, that means nothing to the court. But if you have hard facts, dates, times, events, that the court can use to make their decision versus just your anger and you saying they don't do anything.
Wow. And that's a tough one too, but we make it through. We
Yeah.
know what we want, what we can't control, because at the end of the day, we want what's best for our child or children,
Yeah.
right?
And that is
And
what everybody is trying to be focused on. And that is what the court is
right,
supposed to be focused on, what's
right.
best for the children.
Yeah. And I think sometimes because we love our children, right? And life is going to be changed for them. But we still have to put them at the forefront. And then we have to understand that they love the other parent. We
Yes.
jump into action as the parent, where you're not the only one who loves your child. It's them and him and Her. They love the child. Well, anyway, let me stay on because focus. All right.
But no, you are very right that people have to understand that when you separate, yes, this child is now going to have two homes, but your home is not the only home.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. And then I want to throw this in to parents who are having issues with what the law is and what the courts have determined when it comes to visitation and cooperation or custody is please, please, I'm begging you, once the mother or father picks up their child for visitation, do not start an argument with them.
No,
Do
and
not
people do this in
do it.
front of the children. Don't
Yes.
do it. If there's a parental issue you all need to discuss, that is not the time to do it. What
Yeah.
I tell people, when you get out of the car, let your child stand outside the
Yeah,
car, and if
bite
your
your
child is
tongue
old
like
enough,
this and say, "You boom, boom."
I mean, when your child gets out, let them walk over to the other parent or let the other parent come and get them. Like, that's not the time to, oh, let's talk about what you said the other day. That's not the place for it. That is not the place. That is a, hey, let's have a parent conversation when our child is not around. And a lot of times people will say, oh, I'm afraid because that person may do so and so. The court has safety zones.
Yeah.
Almost every court has a zone. I know in Chesterfield, there's like a blue mark on the ground by the courthouse where people will meet. And what people may or may not know is it's being filmed. There are cameras pointed to that spot
Oh
so
my
that
goodness.
if anything happens, it can be recorded.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not the time to argue. Don't argue with other parents' significant other. If they bring, and so what I tell people is don't bring a date to pick your children up, especially when you know it's going to cause issue. Leave
What is your prerogative?
It is your prerogative. And
You
if
say
you want to
sometimes you
bring
gotta pop out and show them that
show what you're working with now. But if
look
that's
what
the
I
case,
got. No, I'm just
tell your significant other to stay in the car. Do not get out saying things. Like, again, that is not the time for you all to hash out your problems and differences. That's not the time. That is
yeah,
the time to exchange your child, hug your child, tell them you love them. You'll see them soon. Have fun. Get back in your car and go on about your way and enjoy your child-free time.
that's right. And don't be calling back and forth. You know, you just got and those things are very, very
Yeah,
important. And
some
and
parents are like, I talk to my child every single day. Like, that's great. And maybe if you do like a bedtime routine and you go, okay, you know what? I'm going to
yeah,
call you and say your prayers with you. That's fine. But don't call your child or FaceTime them because now there's FaceTime. Don't FaceTime your child every 10 minutes because
be like,
when they're
turn the
with
camera
you,
around.
you don't want the other parent doing that.
Turn the camera around. I want to see who in the
Yeah.
house.
Show me who in there. Let me see. Where are you? Whose house are you at?
Are
Don't
you
do
in your
that.
dad's master bedroom? What are you doing?
Wait, whose clothes in the closet? Are there someone else's clothes in there? Like, you don't, yeah.
Please don't
And
do
I've
our
seen
kids
all
like
of
that.
this.
Yeah. And you know, even though we're talking about it, and it's true, and people will laugh about it, but we want to save our children's lives, right? And
Yeah.
we want to make sure the parents are sound as well. And these are just some things we can do. And you said that early. Look, he or she knows what triggers you because they were
Yep.
in a relationship with you. And be leery of that. They want you triggered because you could lose custody. You just
Yeah.
have to take
If
a deep breath. I had to take a lot of deep breaths. You know, I had to put a lot of cocoa butter on my lips because, you know, I bit my lips, right? But we understand, but we made it through. But please try. But just call Attorney Rhoades. Talk to her. Go to
give us
your,
a call, Will. Yeah,
yeah,
we can get you through it because I tell people it's better to have someone who has done this because a lot of people this is their one and only court case that this
yeah.
they've done this one time. We do it all the time. We do it every day, and so we can help you and guide you through
Mhm.
getting to a place where you're doing what's best for your child, with maybe not what's best for you, but the goal is to do what's best for them.
Wow, that's how we're going to sum it up. And this has been Community Conversations, all about the best interest for our babies. Thank you so much. God bless y'all.
Thank you for having me.